That's my new mic. I just wanted to show you guys that because this is the first webcam video I've done since I've got it. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a way to have it like cleverly in shot so you could see its retro stylings. But that's not what I wanted to talk about today. Today I wanted to make a video talking about the Xbox One reveal event, which I stayed up until 3 a.m. a couple of days ago now to watch, and has been the internets have been ablaze with a lot of anger on gaming websites about it since then. And I just wanted to, make a quick video to give my impressions of the event while it was still relevant. I actually think a lot of the butthurt is understandable, but somewhat misplaced, and I think that claims that the console is going to be a failure and stuff like that are not correct. I think that the Xbox 360, when that first came out, that was sold very strongly on the back of the hardcore gamer market. That was the target audience for the 360 when they launched. They've moved more recently into selling the 360 more as a media center, and that's what they've come out with the Xbox One. For those of you who didn't watch the presentation, for most of the presentation, they talked about sports games and sports television a lot. The beginning of the presentation was mostly just talking about the way the Xbox One is going to interact with your TV and be kind of this living room device that manages your TV, your movies, your music, and also the games felt like an afterthought. And that was the tone for the whole presentation. The games felt like an afterthought. And understandably, a lot of people in the gaming media were less than pleased. And again, although they didn't announce this at the event, behind closed doors, they told the press some pretty conflicting things about whether or not it would require always online, and what the deal was with like game licenses, and whether or not you'd be able to trade and resell used games. And that stuff was actually kind of conflicting. Like, kind of said, you need to log on, and then it's like, no, but you can play single player games, but you need to log on once a day, and it was weird and confusing. And with the used games, it sort of sounded like you were going to have to pay to play like a game on your friend's system even, but they came back later and said that's not the case, that won't happen, and that you'll be able to resell games at retail stores. So they've, released a lot of conflicting stuff about that. People were really mad, understandably, about the implication that it would require you to always be online for single-player content, and mad, understandably, about the idea that you wouldn't be able to resell games. I'm going to wait for some clarification on what the fuck their actual plans are, because what's out there right now is conflicting and confusing. I'm going to assume in the meantime the most evil of the possible outcomes, but I'm not going to talk about it too much until we know for sure. I think it's premature to get mad about it publicly, although inside I'm fuming. But the thing about it is, I can understand from the perspective of the gaming media being very, very disappointed. They only told us a little bit about the hardware. They told us it has 8 gigs of RAM and an 8-core processor, and that's about it. And Blu-ray, USB 3.0 wireless. We knew it would have that shit. So they didn't really tell us like what it's going to have for graphics, how fast the processors are, that kind of stuff. And the only games they showed that weren't sports games were, Forza is a racing game, so that counts as a sports game, just to be clear, were a new Remedy game called... I actually forgot the title, how unprofessional of me. A new Remedy game, but they barely showed anything of that, like a very sort of teaserish trailer that was mostly live-action footage. I did think it was kind of funny with that. They're bringing back... If you read their press release about it, they're talking about blending television and video games seamlessly. They're bringing back FMV, which was a feature that people stopped using in video games in the mid-90s. And I actually think FMV is fine, but I think it's funny that they're selling something that, for me anyway, I think of as being a feature more of retro games, as being this new and exciting thing. I really like Remedy's game, so I am kind of looking forward to that, even though they didn't tell us anything. And the only other non-sports game they showed was, of course, Call of Duty Ghosts. My impressions of that were, it's nice that Call of Duty finally looks like a current generation game. COD 4 looked pretty good for the time, and then they didn't upgrade it again until now. It looks decent. That's my only impression of it. The graphics seem much better. I think it's probably still not quite as nice as BF3, let alone BF4, which, really, there's a whole other video. BF4 looks like it's just going to be a slightly upgraded BF3, but that's not the topic right now. So it looks like a modern game. If it runs at a high res, like true 720p or 1080p, it'd be amazing. On the new consoles at 60 FPS, that would be impressive to me. If it's running at sub 720p res still, I'm not going to give a fuck. I hate the low res on current consoles, and I hope we see higher resolutions for real on the next gen, not just them using the additional power to shove in more bloom. I'm not sure that that's going to happen. Anyway, those were the only two non-sports games they showed. They did announce that there will be 15 exclusives within the first 12 months. My feeling is that for the reveal event, they wanted to showcase what they felt made the Xbox One unique and new and different, and that was the stuff about it being a media center. That was the stuff that they felt made it new and unique, not anything to do with actually playing games. And maybe that's disappointing for the core gaming audience, but it kind of makes sense. Like, as I was watching it, I was thinking, I don't care about any of this stupid bullshit, but there are a lot of people out there who would like this. Not the core gaming audience, but, like, sports fans and fucking, like, a lot of people who have a casual interest in gaming but are more into, like, they just want a nice, simple experience in their living room. They don't want to deal with bullshit anymore. Like, I can see how it might be appealing to a lot of people, particularly if you didn't have a good computer. And if you like watching a lot of TV. I was sort of watching and thinking, if they can pull this off and if they can market it correctly to the correct audience, they'll actually sell a lot of units, even though it won't be to me. Because the stuff they showed, I didn't give a fuck about any of it, aside from maybe the Remedy game, and I think that was the reaction from a lot of people in the gaming community, was that we don't care about any of this shit. We don't give a fuck about the NFL and these fantasy football leagues. This doesn't appeal to me. I'm a gamer. I'm not a sports dude. Although, you know, some gamers also like sports, but not necessarily. So I can understand the disappointment from the gaming community, and I can understand a lot of the butthurt surrounding it, and while there's a pretty good chance I'll buy a PS4, right now it's not likely I'll get an Xbox One because of the combination of the fact that so far they haven't shown anything that I really want, and the fact that I'm still worried that they're going to do something really, really evil with the connectivity and the licensing side of things. So we'll wait to see about that, and we'll wait to see until they announce more games. Maybe they will have something that I want, but so far I don't see any reason to buy one, and I think that that's how a lot of people in gaming are feeling. So I think that they've kind of lost a lot of the core gaming market with the reveal, aside from their die-hard fanboys, but I don't think that the console is doomed to obscurity like some people are saying, like, this is the end times, the beginning of the end for Xbox's dominance in the market. First of all, they were never that dominant. The Wii has sold so many more units than the 360. It's not funny, but even just counting, you know, the PS3 is caught up in adoption to the 360, as I understand it. So it's not as dominant as people like to believe. And secondly, I do think the Xbox One will sell. It's just that a lot of the new shit is not for people like me and people in the gaming media who are hardcore, sort of big game fans. That there were some kind of funny, dumb moments in the conference. I don't know. I thought it was a pretty bad reveal for the core gaming audience, who are going to be the people who are most interested to see this first reveal kind of thing. I think it's really bad that they issued these confusing statements behind closed doors about connectivity, licensing, that kind of stuff. I think it was a pretty trashy and honestly pretty disastrous launch event, don't get me wrong. I just think that the doomsayers have lost too much control, and that there's no reason yet to be saying that the console is going to suck and that it's not going to sell any, because it's too early to call it. Maybe, yes, there's no reason for me to buy it yet, but I do think that if they can pull off the feature set they showed, there will be a lot of people who will want one, just not the audience that Microsoft has established for the 360. It's a weird choice. It might work. So overall, am I impressed with the Xbox One? No, not really. But do I think it's going to be the worst fucking thing ever made? No, I don't. I don't think that it's reasonable to get really mad about this just yet. And if it does turn out to be as bad as it seems like it might be, just don't fucking buy one. Buy a PS4. Buy a good PC instead, you know, and you don't need an Xbox, guys, if the Xbox sucks. You can just not get one. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Let me know what you thought of the Xbox One reveal and the video and all that stuff. And until next time, Triple T Cat, out.